Man, when they first announced Valter Walker versus Mohammed Usman, it felt like one of those fights you just knew was going to be fireworks. Two absolute monsters. Young, hungry, built like tanks, both with something to prove. You could feel that raw tension in the air. Walker, this undefeated Brazilian wrecking ball with scary precision and that quiet, unshakable confidence, stepping into his first big spotlight on home soil. And on the other side, Mohammed Usman, the tough winner, the brother of the former welterweight king Kamaru Usman, carrying that family legacy and trying to carve his own name into UFC history. The storylines were perfect, man. You had Walker, the new blood, trying to show the world that the heavyweight division has a new face. And then you had Usman, the powerhouse veteran who's been grinding in the shadows, trying to prove that his last name isn't just a label, it's a standard. Everyone was hyped for this one. You could feel it across MMA Twitter, podcasts, YouTube, channels. People calling it a collision of generations, a pure test of power and composure. Stylistically, it was chaos waiting to happen. Walker with that explosive striking, that fast twitch knockout style against Usman's wrestling base and heavy pressure. It was one of those matchups that promised violence no matter how it went. Either Walker clips him early or Usman drags him into the deep, dirty waters. And you could tell, man, both guys were locked in mentally. Walker talking about finishing him in Brazil, feeding off that crowd energy, and Usman saying he's going to silence the arena, shut down the hype. That's what makes this game so wild. The story behind the fight is just as intense as the fight itself. Everything about this matchup screamed chaos, legacy, and opportunity. You had two heavyweights who weren't just fighting for a win, they were fighting for identity, for validation. The fans were ready for a war. The UFC was marketing it as a breakout moment, and both fighter. We're acting like this was the night everything changes. But then, just like that, everything flipped. The build-up, the interviews, the anticipation, all shattered in one headline, and that's when things started to get messy because out of nowhere, the whole fight just disappeared and nobody saw it coming. And then out of nowhere, man, boom, the whole thing collapses. The fight's off, just like that. No warning, no slow build-up, nothing. One day, you've got promos dropping, highlight reels running, both guys talking about how they're going to end each other, and the next, the news hits, Mohammed Usman is out. The headlines start popping up like wildfire. Usman withdraws from UFC Rio, and nobody knows what the hell happened. The UFC just drops this vague statement, medical issues, and that's it. No details, no clarity, just confusion. And when stuff like that happens in this sport, you know there's more to the story, because if it was a minor injury, they'd say it. Fighters pull out all the time. It's part of the game. But when it's just medical reasons and everyone suddenly goes quiet, that's when the rumors start flying. People are speculating. Did he get hurt in camp? Did something go wrong with the weight cut? Did he catch something? Nobody knows. But then, man, those insider whispers start coming out. Those little leaks from behind the curtain, and the story starts to twist. Suddenly, it's not about an injury anymore. It's about a test, about numbers, about something in his system that shouldn't have been there. And now it's not just a fight being canceled. It's a situation, the kind of thing that changes how people look at you. The fans are pissed, the media is digging, and Valter Walker, the guy who's been training his ass off for this massive moment in Brazil, is just left hanging, ready to fight no opponent. Imagine that, man. Your biggest opportunity, your spotlight moment, the night you've been dreaming of your whole career, and it get snatched away at the last second because of something completely out of your control. The arena was ready, the energy was building, and suddenly everything's gone. That's the thing about MMA. It's not just about what happens inside the cage. It's about the chaos outside of it, too. And with Usman out and silence surrounding the reason, people started digging deeper, trying to figure out the real truth. And when that truth finally came out, man, it sent shockwaves through the whole scene. So then, the truth finally starts creeping out, and it's wild, man. Turns out this wasn't just a pulled muscle or a bad flu or some last-minute weight issue. This was way deeper. Mohammed Usman, the dude who was supposed to bring the storm to Rio, gets flagged for a potential anti-doping violation, and suddenly everything makes sense. You start hearing whispers from insiders, you see those cryptic tweets from journalists. He's out for undisclosed medical reasons. But behind the scenes, people already knew. The commission had gotten some numbers that didn't line up, something popped in a test, and now the UFC's in damage control mode. And look, here's the thing. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, but every time it does, it shakes the sport because it forces everyone to look at the harsh reality. These fighters are pushing their bodies past human limits. They're cutting insane amounts of weight, training through injuries, sleeping 4 hours a night just to stay sharp. And in that chaos, some guys start reaching for shortcuts, supplements, recoveries, whatever. And boom, one wrong thing, one bad batch, and your entire career's hanging by a thread. It's brutal. And with Usman, it stings even more because this guy was finally carving his own name outside of his brother's shadow, making his mark in a division that's hungry for new killers. Fans were hyped, the card was stacked, and now suddenly the whole narrative flips from anticipation to disappoint. NT meant from warrior to question mark. And it's not even just about guilt or innocence, it's about perception. Because once your name gets tied to that kind of controversy, even if you're cleared later, the stain stays. People remember the headline, not the correction. And poor Valter Walker, he's sitting there watching this storm unfold, knowing that his big shot just got ripped away because of something completely out of his hands. That's the cruel side of this game, man. One guy's mistake, one failed test, one bad decision, and an entire card's energy just collapses. And that's when the UFC had to make a move, fast, because Rio was waiting, the fans wanted blood, and the show had to go on. And that's where the UFC's machine really shows its power, man. The moment Mohammed Usman got pulled, they didn't waste a single breath. Boom. Within days, Valter Walker's name was already getting linked to a new fight. That's how this sport moves. Like a living organism that refuses to stop breathing. The UFC knew they couldn't let Walker sit in the dark after months of prep. Thousands of fans hyped to see him throw down in Brazil, and the kid himself in absolute beast mode, ready to make a statement on home soil. You could almost feel that frustration in the air, all that energy with nowhere to go. But that's the thing about this sport. It rewards resilience. Valter didn't complain, didn't throw shade, didn't play the victim. He just said, all right, who's next? And that's why they love him down there. Within a heartbeat, the brass lined him up for UFC 321 against Louis Sutherland, this heavy-handed British newcomer with something to prove. It's wild because on paper, this fight's got a whole different vibe. With Usman, it was all about legacy, about two names with hype behind them. But with Sutherland, it's that raw danger of the unknown. The kind of fight where you don't have much tape, where you can't study habits or tendencies, where one mistake could end your NI. Walker's team knew this wasn't just about staying active. It was about protecting the momentum, keeping the fire alive, and proving that all the noise around the cancellation wasn't going to derail his rise. You can imagine that camp right now. Pure focus, no distractions, no talking, just grinding in silence while the rest of the world's still talking about Usman's test results. And that's the beauty of it, man. When the chaos hits, real fighters adapt. Valter's about to walk into UFC 321 not as the victim of a cancellation, but as the guy who kept his composure when the world around him fell apart. And you can feel that Brazilian crowd's going to explode when he walks out because they know he didn't get handed anything easy. This isn't a redemption fight. It's a reaffirmation that he belongs among the future of heavyweight MMA, and the stakes just got a lot higher heading into that next chapter. Now with the new timeline set, everything feels different, heavier, more unpredictable. Like this calm before a storm that no one quite knows how to read. UFC 321 is shaping up to be that pivotal moment where careers shift directions, man. For Valter Walker, this isn't just another fight on the schedule. It's a defining test of who he really is when the script gets ripped apart. He's undefeated, young, confident, and fighting with the kind of hunger you can't fake. But now all eyes are on him to see how he handles chaos. Because let's be real, momentum is everything in this sport. You miss your shot, you blink, and the hype moves on to the next guy. So now every training session, every punch on the pads, every mile he runs carries that pressure. Not just to win, but to prove that the hype wasn't built on convenience, that he's legit even when the stage changes overnight. And on the other side, Louis Sutherland, the British powerhouse stepping in on short notice, has absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. That's the scariest kind of opponent, man. These short notice guys come in with chaos energy. They're unpredictable, wild. They fight like their life depends on it because, in a way, it does. You win here, you steal all of Walker's momentum and launch yourself into the spotlight overnight. That's what makes this fight so dangerous and so compelling. And the timing couldn't be more critical. Heavyweights in this weird transition era right now, with legends fading and new blood pushing up from every angle. The division's hungry for a new name, someone to shake things up, and this fight could literally decide who gets pushed into that next wave of contenders. But hovering in the background is still Mohammed Usman's absence, the question of when or if he'll return, and how this whole thing reshapes the heavyweight landscape once he does. It's like one domino fell, and now the entire picture's shifting. UFC 321 isn't just another event on the calendar. It's become a statement night for everyone involved. For Walker, it's survival and ASC. Enshin, for Sutherland, it's opportunity and chaos. And for the rest of the division, it's a warning shot that the future of heavyweight MMA is arriving whether they're ready or not. And that's the crazy beauty of this sport, man. The way everything can flip in an instant, the way one test result, one phone call, one replacement can completely rewrite a story that was supposed to go one way. You look at this whole Valter Walker, Mohammed Usman situation, and it's like watching the fight game strip itself bare. The highs, the lows, the drama, the unpredictability. Walker's the perfect example of what makes MMA so damn compelling. A young lion who refuses to fold when the universe throws chaos his way. Instead of sitting around blaming anyone, he took the hit, kept his head down, and said, "Let's go again." That's what separates fighters from everybody else. It's not just about throwing punches. It's about surviving the storm when the spotlight moves, when your moment gets stolen, and still finding a way to make people believe again. And look, whatever happens at UFC 321, one thing's certain. This fight's going to tell us a lot about the future of the heavyweight division. It's raw, it's real, and it's unpredictable, just like this sport's always been. And for Usman, yeah, it's a rough break, but maybe that's the universe telling him to reset, to come back sharper, cleaner, hungrier. Because if we've learned anything about this game, it's that redemption stories hit harder than knockouts. So to everyone watching, keep your eyes open. This new generation's coming fast, and moments like these are where legends are born. To Valter, to Louis, and even to Usman, good luck, boys. You're carrying the weight of the chaos now, and the whole world's watching to see how you handle it. And to the fans, the people who live and breathe this madness, who ride every win and loss like it's their own, thank you for being part of this wild ride, because without you guys, none of this means anything. This is the fight game. Raw, brutal, beautiful chaos. And it never, ever stops. You ever notice how this sport, man, MMA, it's like the purest form of human chaos wrapped in discipline. One minute you're staring at a poster thinking you know exactly how a fight's going to play out, and then boom, everything explodes. Someone gets injured, someone pulls out, a new guy steps in, and suddenly the whole narrative flips on its head. That's what I love about this world. It's not scripted, it's not polished, it's raw, unpredictable, and brutally honest. And the story of Valter Walker and Mohammed Usman, it's one of those perfect MMA moments where reality hits harder than any punch ever could. You've got this young Brazilian monster on the rise, undefeated, fighting in front of his people, ready to make a statement. And then across from him, the brother of a former world champion, a dude who's been grinding in the shadows, trying to carve his own identity, about to step in. To the fire. Everyone was buzzing. You could feel it like electricity in the air. And then suddenly, it all falls apart. The fight gets pulled. Rumors start flying. Social media is losing its mind. And what should have been a war inside the cage turns into a storm outside of it. That's the fight game, man. It'll lift you up and humble you in the same breath. But here's the thing. Out of that chaos, sometimes something even crazier is born. Because when one fight dies, another rises from the ashes. When one name falls, someone else steps up, hungry, fearless, ready to take their shot. And that's exactly what happened here. So today, We're diving deep into this wild story, the hype, the fall, the controversy, and the comeback. Everything that makes MMA the most unpredictable show on earth. Buckle up, because this one's not just about punches and takedowns. It's about fate, timing, and how fast everything can change in the blink of an eye.